You probably recognize this picture. It was released by NASA in 2002 and is the most popular picture of Earth. If you believe the world is a globe, then you most likely have believed your whole entire life that this is in fact a picture of the place that you lived. But what if I showed you that this picture was nothing more than CGI, just computer graphics? You would feel lied to and betrayed by NASA and your formal education. All that you have to do is take a close look at the clouds to see that the Photoshop clone tool was used to replicate clouds, meaning that the picture used by most people, schools, and even universities at the highest level as proof that the world is a globe is fake. So what we're going to do now is take this picture directly from NASA, from NASA's website. We're going to take it into Photoshop, and we are going to look at the clouds ourselves. So we're zooming in here, and it'll become clear in a second what we're talking about. You probably don't see anything now. Wrong tool right there. Ding, 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 ding. I've never seen clouds do that before. Oh, you think that's the only one, do you? What do we have here? Interesting. Another one right here. I don't know about you, but I do not think the clouds do this. And to me, it's very obvious that this is a result of using the Photoshop clone tool. That's all they did. They got lazy. Whoever made this picture decided it was taking too long to make all these clouds, so they just decided to copy some over, thinking that no one would notice the replications. Well, we might not have noticed if you didn't put them right next to each other. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, it's so easy to see when they're sitting right next to each other that, yeah, clearly there's some form of manipulation on this picture. I believe that after what I have just showed you, that it should start to become clear that NASA is lying left and right and that they are clearly guilty of editing these so-called pictures of the Earth. And in case what I just showed you wasn't proof enough, maybe we should ask this guy, Robert Simon, aka Mr. Blue Marble. He is lead data visualizer and information designer at NASA.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through, so I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space. But I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
In my blog series at testingtheglobe.com, I've shown that the alleged curvature is not even detectable at 120,000 feet when people send up weather balloons with cameras not fitted with a fisheye lens. And by that I'm talking about there's some videos that I have on my website there, and you can do videos yourself, do some searches on YouTube for videos of people doing high altitude weather balloon tests where they're sending up weather balloons. And if they have it fitted with a camera that doesn't use a fisheye lens, I mean, that thing's going up to 120, 121, 127,000 feet and spinning in 360 degrees and showing the horizon flat as a pancake. As opposed to the Red Bull video or, typical NASA video, which is seems like always shot with a fisheye lens. And that's easy to tell when they're using a fisheye lens. First of all, like in the Red Bull deal, when that dude gets out of the capsule and stands out and they cut to the camera outside looking at him, the curve of the Earth is so ridiculous, the size of the planet would have to be less than that of the moon. And that dude would have to be jumping from like millions of miles away, or at least hundreds of thousands of miles away. I mean, the curve is just insane. And whenever the camera tilts at certain angles, I mean, it goes from convex to flat to concave to flat to convex to it's going all over. It's an incredible morphing Earth. That's what happens when you use a fisheye lens. So how come ships don't go off the sea if it's flat? How come ships don't fall off the edge? Well, here's why I don't fall off the edge. There's a 200 to 300 foot high wall that is the border that Scripture says is keeping everything in. Nothing's going past that.
Because I don't want you finding out what's It's a 20,000-foot sheer wall of ice, but that's never stopped me before. Risk? Of course I'm aware of the risks. Thank you for your concern.
Everyone knows, like, if you're in sunlight, it's colder in the shade, right? So if it's 100 degrees in the sun, it's 90 degrees in the shade. You go to the moonlight, like, especially in a full moon, especially if it's high in the sky, the moon is its own independent object. It is not reflecting the sun rays. The sun is its own object. Also, you know, about the same size, which is, you know, again, coincidentally, you know, why the moon fits so perfectly in front of the sun during an eclipse. We always thought it was coincidence that even though it was 400 times farther away, that it was also exactly 400 times less diameter, which is why it fits. And the other weird thing about the moon, which everyone thinks, oh, it's just a coincidence, is that we never see the other side of it. It's constantly perfectly rotating, so we only see one side of the moon. Exactly one side. It's not like we have like a quarter of a degree every 5 years or half a degree here and there. It's always the same side. There are no coincidences when it comes to this system. It was deliberately built, but I think it was deliberately built to be detected. And I think we were naturally supposed to figure this thing out maybe as late as the 1970s, but the government figured it out first, and they have been spending a heck of a lot of money trying to keep it a secret.
Because if the Earth is in the center of the universe, that means that somebody put it there.
I was an airline pilot for Delta for 26 years. A pilot's primary flight instrument is his artificial horizon, which he has to be maintained level to keep from climbing and descending. From the cockpit, weather permitting, I could see hundreds of miles in all directions, viewing cities connected by roads across the flat plain as far as the eye could see.
If a pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down, and every 5 minutes he should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve.
Now, how come in all these ball pictures, man, you can see all the continents pretty much, and there's just a little bit of clouds here and there. Man, it's like some of these pictures, like there's some where they show the Earth at night and you can see all the lights and stuff. It's like, you're telling me the entire continent didn't have clouds? The entire fucking continent, like you can see Africa and all these lights and all this stuff. Like, you know, if you turn on your porch light, I guess you can see it from space.
Shit, if there wasn't any gravity, I'd be jumping higher than that. You know, I'd be jumping over the flag or something to prove that there is no gravity. I mean, this guy's just lightly jogging, and I mean, clearly they're just playing it back at a lower speed. Anyone remember that really windy afternoon on the moon? I mean, come on, whatever happened to the moon not having an atmosphere?
But those mountains, those rocks, definitely exactly like we see on Mars. I wonder what they're doing out here. What is all this equipment for? I'm sure it can't be NASA, right? Whose orange Hummer is this? Okay, that looks like a NASA symbol. Same kind of mountains? That looks like the same kind of water I've seen before that I thought was water on Mars. Who knows? Zoom in, what's that? Oh, nothing. Just looked like it was funny. So I'll keep kind of going through here and see if it... What the... Yeah. So. I think I found out where Mars is, guys.
It's true.
What?
The Earth is flat.
Shaq, what are you talking about?
The Earth is flat.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No,
listen.
It's not.
There's 3 ways to manipulate the mind. What you read, what you see, and what you hear.
Okay. Conspiracies.
In school, first thing they teach us is, Columbus discovered America. But when he got there, it was some fair-skinned people with the long hair smoking out of peace pipes. So what does that tell you? Columbus didn't discover America.
Yeah, he found where some other people already lived.
Go to the seashore. Go to a seashore and figure out why you can't, if you live on the East Coast, figure out why you can't see Spain.
Because of the fact that all parallel lines and planes converge at your eye-level horizon, this is according to perspective. I'm not making this up. If in fact, and they do, they converge at your eye level horizon visually, then it makes sense that after that point, they diverge, meaning they then separate. So the sun would continue on a downward track. As you can see from my illustration here, the lines would go to your horizon, and then afterwards, they would spread out and separate.
Just start there. Then if you'd like, look at pictures from space where you see the Earth as a sphere. Those pictures are not fake.
Do I have a choice? Joint. I roll up a joint, keep my shooters in the game like I hate to disappoint. I see only good things on the horizon. That's probably why the horizon is always rising. Indoctrinated in a cult called science and graduated to a club full of liars. Heliocentrism, you were the sixth victim. Fuck you and your team, you can sit on the bench with them, they nervous. But before you try to curve it, do your research on David Irving. Stalin was way worse than Hitler. That's why the POTUS gotta wear a kipper. I'm a man first for an artist. Did a lawyer look up Dr. Richard Sauter? Facts. Flatline. You fools for the last time. Flatline. Is no superior.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. The answer.
Okay. You're not a scientist, as you know. You're a popularizer. So much of this you don't know. You pretend that you know, but you don't know, and you believe people who ask you questions. I really have to disagree.
So what's odd is there are people who think Earth is flat,
Right.
but recognize that the moon is round. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and the sun are all spheres, but Earth is flat. That's not, doesn't square.
So it doesn't jive, right?
Okay.
I like this last clip because it is very telling about Neil deGrasse Tyson's true motives. The fact that Neil deGrasse Tyson tries to so-called debunk flat Earth, but without actually using the real flat Earth model, shows that Neil deGrasse Tyson is not interested in debunking flat Earth because he cannot. All he is interested in doing, and all he is paid to do, is to lead people who don't know the truth about flat Earth further from it. He isn't trying to reconvert real flat earthers because we see this and know that he isn't even trying to debunk our real enclosed Earth system. He is using a classic deflection technique. He can't show people the real thing because it might make too much sense to people and it might wake them up. So what he has to do is show them this garbage and try to turn off people to the truth of the flat Earth forever.
So one last thing, which should be obvious, if you pay attention and think about it. If you send a ship straight to the horizon, eventually it begins to disappear until it's no longer visible beyond your horizon.
Right.
And you should ask yourself, what kind of surface would produce that result?
All it takes is a camera with a zoom lens to prove that boats aren't going over any curve, they are just leaving our view. So Neil, now I'll ask you, what kind of surface would produce this result?
The deception and the lies are just so pervasive, and they're just so deep that I swear it gives me a headache.
The surface of water is always level. This is just natural physics. We know this, that water, if unobstructed and uncontained, will flow outwards, finding the easiest course to maintain its own level, right? So, but the Ball Earth model claims that the oceans are huge 100-mile walls of curved water curving around the ball. That's ridiculous. They say that gravity makes this possible, but you don't see that. You go to the beach, you see completely flat horizon, you see water just ever so gently coming up on the shore.
So there's the pretty blue marble that NASA claims we are living on, with circumference of 24,901 and 3959 radius. So to find the curvature, you take 8 inches times your distance squared. That's 8 inches times your distance squared, and if you don't square the distance, you end up with this, and this is not what NASA has shown us. They have given us a beautiful blue marble that we love. So you get 8 inches for 1 mile, 32 inches in 2 miles, 16.6 feet with 5 miles, so on and so forth. So what I did is I shot this pier, which is in Daytona Beach, Florida, And as you can see, between the water and the walkway of the pier is about 12 to 16 feet based on the height of the people and the railing. So I started at Granada, which is 4.92 miles away, and I shot this, and based on that distance and the formula, there should be 16 feet of curvature. But obviously you can still see the entire gap under the walkway there between that and the water. So in addition to that, behind that pier is actually a lighthouse, which you can see right above the pier. You can see the light. That is 16 miles away from my location, and I shot that lighthouse. Now that lighthouse is 175 feet tall, and the curvature from 16 miles away should be 170 feet. You can clearly see about the entire lighthouse beyond that pier. So like I said, there should be 170 feet of curvature, but there's none. And those hotels there are even further. Those are in New Smyrna, which is 20 miles. If NASA is right, and we do live on a ball, they're going to have to make up that curvature. If it's not in the 20 miles I'm shooting, well then that means it's got to be made up further on down the line. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say we live on this ball and then say, oh, you can't detect the curvature. Well, you got to detect it somewhere, because if it's not dropping here, it's going to have to drop even more down the lines in order to make that circle, that ball they say we live on. And it's pretty round. That blue marble they give us is perfectly round.
Lighthouses are one great example. The Isle of Wight Lighthouse in England, it's 180 feet high and can be seen up to 42 miles away, a distance at which modern astronomers say the light should fall 996 feet below the line of sight. Why can you still see it? Another one worth mentioning that people be familiar with is the Statue of Liberty. It stands 326 feet above sea level, and on a clear day can be seen as far as 60 miles away. Now, if the Earth was a globe at the dimensions that they give us, that would put Lady Liberty at an impossible 2,074 feet below the horizon.
So while we're talking about science, I would like to give you the definition of pseudoscience. Alright, so I'm getting this straight from Wikipedia here, as you can see. Pseudoscience consists of statements, beliefs, or practices that are claimed to be scientific and factual in the absence of evidence gathered and constrained by appropriate scientific methods. Pseudoscience is often characterized by contradictory, exaggerated, or unfalsifiable claims. So as you can see here, pseudoscience basically means stuff that is not gathered through proper means, or can be exaggerated, or cannot be proven false. You know what the average everyday person cannot prove false? What those things in the sky that we call stars look like up close. You see, what they say is that these are galaxies far away, but we cannot prove that to be true at all, and we can't prove it to be false. That is an unfalsifiable claim. That is pseudoscience. This is how they try to explain the solar system right here, and the creation of the solar system. As you can see, this is a model of the Big Bang. So as you can see right here, this right here apparently is the Big Bang. And here you have a little black thing that is a period of inflation, I guess. That's what it says. Then this blue part is the formation of atoms, and it's right here behind this purple thing, which is given no explanation for. I don't know, I guess that was the purple period. We get some galaxy formation right here. And right here we get some star formation peaks. What does that even mean? And then after some star formation peaks, we have solar systems form. We have all this whole time we're accelerating. The rate of expansion is accelerating, as you can see, just getting infinitely bigger. And we're right here. Yeah, we're in this part right here. This is pseudoscience. This is unfalsifiable claims at the most extreme extent, the most extreme example. No one can prove this. No human is capable of proving that, oh, this is how the universe was created. This is not science. This is pseudoscience. This is literally the definition of pseudoscience right here. And this is what everyone is believing. Some people out there will still probably be thinking that, well, I know that the universe is real because I've seen pictures of it. So I just want to take you through some pictures from NASA that everyone is so obsessed with. So here you go. Here's one of the supposed Milky Way, where we live, I guess. Here's another one, purple. This time it's purple. Here's another one. It's red this time. The Milky Way is red. Alright. So here's another one. I just have a question about these pictures. If whatever is taking these pictures is this far away from the supposed universe that we live, how are the images getting back to Earth? Is there 100 million mile an hour internet in space and NASA's using this? We don't have this technology? I don't understand. So by looking at this picture, do you really believe that this is real right here? Trust your gut, people. When I was little, looking in science books, I would look at these pictures and say, man, this doesn't even seem real. This does not even seem real. Well, it turns out that my gut was right the whole time. These pictures are not real. This is CGI. This is made on a computer. According to the Bible, there is a firmament or hard surface above the earth, and the earth does not move, meaning we are not revolving around the sun. Genesis 1:7. And God made the firmament, which separates the waters above from the waters below. Job 37:18. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass. 1 Chronicles 16:30. He has fixed the earth firm, immovable. Psalm 93:1. Thou hast fixed the earth immovable and firm. Psalm 96:10. He has fixed the earth firm, immovable. As you can see, the Bible has the answers, and they completely destroy the heliocentric lie.
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures. There are fossil records.
Oh, fossil records.
Ah!
I didn't even think about the fossil records. I guess I'll concede. Oh, wait, one more thing before I do, Mr. Reynolds. Have you seen these fossil records?
Have I... Huh?
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no. No.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met, and you take their words as truth based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Come on. That's a false equivalency.
Just answer the question, Mr. Reynolds.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I rest my case.
Well, that got me. Yeah, Frank, you...
So who do you trust? NASA and these so-called scientists, or God?
The pictures, steroid, Santa Claus, kicks and deals. It's a long fly ball going back. And the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium.
3 ways to manipulate the mind. What you read, what you see, and what you hear. What should be obvious, okay, if you pay attention and think about it.